Thank you everybody for joining us for this event of the AED Southern Arizona Committee. So today we're here to talk about from the ground up, the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Tucson, Arizona and the region at large. So thank you everybody for taking the time. I particularly want to thank our sponsors, the town of Sahuarita and Pinal County for their sponsorship of this event. Today we're going to have a moderated discussion by the moderator is going to be Dre Thompson with Startup Tucson. And our panelists are Laura Demons from Sylvan Source, Abraham Jalboot from Auxilium Technology Group, and Courtney Williams from Emagine Solutions Technologies. So we, again, thank you everybody for being here. We're very grateful for you to take the time to come and hear from all these awesome entrepreneurs who've made the best of it here in Tucson, and we really look forward to hearing more about their companies. And with that, I would like to pass it along to the wonderful Miss Thompson for her to do a little introduction and tell us a little bit about Startup Tucson. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you so much for inviting me and having me here. I'm super excited to participate. I love economic development, totally nerd out on it, want to talk about it all the time. So perfect platform for me. Yeah, so I am Dre Thompson. I'm the Executive Vice President of Startup Tucson. If you are not familiar with Startup Tucson, you should be. We love to get to know you. So we are a nonprofit organization. We are located in Tucson, and our main goal as a nonprofit is to contribute to economic development through specifically supporting entrepreneurs and innovation. So the way that we like to talk about it, when you're looking at economic development, you can kind of see one branch of it that's super important is kind of the hunting, going out and bringing companies and bringing them back to you. We think of our role as kind of like farmers and really developing vibrancy from the ground up. So I was super happy to see your graphic. That's exactly what we really like to do. And it is a really, really exciting time to be in Arizona right now doing this work, because we are seeing such an explosion of amazing companies growing and really becoming sort of that critical mass of innovation, which we're hoping to see. So we work with many different partners across the region. And so we work as a connector to really sort of be that friendly front door that entrepreneurs can come in, and then we help connect them to the resources that are right for them. We also do entry-level education for kind of folks that are wanting to be first-time founders through our Startup Fundamentals. Overall, we work with about 300 companies each year and interact with about 3,000 entrepreneurs overall each year. So we do a lot of work. We're a small, mighty team. And that's a little bit about Startup Tucson. You want to learn more about us, startuptucson.com, or just reach out to me personally, Dre at Startup Tucson. But we are not here to talk about me. We are here to highlight three incredible entrepreneurs that I'm really excited about to dig into and talk more about their entrepreneurial journey and learn more from their perspective. What can we be doing as a region to better support our entrepreneurs and enable companies like them to continue to thrive in our area? So it is my extreme pleasure to first chat a little bit, introduce you to Courtney Williams. She's the co-founder and CEO of Emagine Solutions Technology. And Emagine Solutions Technology is on a mission to modernize pregnancy care with data. Their technology combines a quick look ultrasound and advanced doctor-patient software to improve patient outcomes. She has been just such a rock star of our community. They have won a National Science Foundation and a Roddenberry Foundation Catalyst Award, Flynn Foundation and the Biosciences Entrepreneurship Award, and the Arizona Innovation Challenge grant. They were a past winner of IDEA funding, which is coming up, so let me talk to you about that later. Southern Arizona's largest entrepreneurial event and pitch competition. Courtney herself has over 12 years of experience leading customer metrics and analytics at Fortune 500 companies, international business experience in Africa and Latin America. She served on the board of Open Windows Foundation in Guatemala, public health education organization. So she has been super busy and her company is one to watch. So thank you so much, Courtney, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Right. And then my second panelist is going to be Dr. Abraham Jalboot. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
I think
Thank
so. Okay, good. Really excited about having him on the panel today. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Auxilium Technology Group and Caltrode, working on solving some of the largest mining challenges in the industry today. So a really big part of our economic story here in Southern Arizona. His own journey has been really exciting. So he finished his PhD in physical chemistry at age 19. He completed a postdoc at NASA Astrobiology Institute, University of Arizona. After that, he was a professor of the Institute of Nuclear Sciences in the University of Mexico. He, in 2013, he co-founded a commodities trading company, Golden Knights Capital, which was a Concord spinoff, which is the third largest privately held commodities trading firm. This really sparked his interest in the natural resources and mining. And then he went on to co-found Metox in 2016, raising millions of dollars to commercialize sustainable mining innovations. And after that company was acquired, he has continued to focus on tailing repurposing and sensor systems in the mining processes. So very excited. Thank you so much, Abraham.
Thank you.
And last but not least, are you guys just like wowed by the talent on this panel? I am. Laura Demons is the co-founder and chairman of the board and CEO of Sylvan Source. Sylvan Source provides industrial wastewater treatment systems and thermal energy recovery technologies at half the price of the closest competitors, and is a benchmark of independent industry experts. Her past includes a former HP executive, and she helped lead the HP Notebook Group from 400 million to 2 billion in revenue over a 2-year period. She's the recent recipient of the Global Water Intelligence Technology Idol Award and also an Arizona Innovation Challenge Award recipient. So phenomenal talent on our panel here today. Thank you guys all so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so what we wanted to really focus on, if I could have, I kind of gave a little bit of overview of some of what you've been doing, but I would love to hear in your own words, can you talk to us about why you became an entrepreneur? And specifically this business idea that you're working on. Tell us a little bit about what it is about this problem that sparked your interest and what made you feel like, all right, I've got to do something to work on this. So I am going to start with Laura. Can you talk a little bit about your journey with this company?
Sure. So it really sort of started exiting the last position that I had at Hewlett Packard when we helped turn around that division and took it from 400 million in losing money to 2 billion and making tens of millions of dollars in net profit quarterly. I kind of decided that if I was going to work that hard, I'd really like to do something that makes a difference to our planet somehow. And so, and I wasn't sure how. So a friend introduced me to Dr. Tiers, who at the time was Senior Director of Technology Commercialization at SRI International in Menlo Park. And he told me that if I want to make a difference in the world and create a great company in the process, I should focus on energy or water. So I started out looking at water treatment, but it turns out, and my team discovered, that water and energy are so closely linked that if we really wanted to do something game-changing in wastewater treatment, we actually had to address the energy equation as well. So we founded Sylvan Source and started conducting deep and fundamental technology research as well as customer discovery. And so the problem that we're addressing with our company is the cost to treat wastewater, the energy needed to treat wastewater, and system size and complexity. And we actually have developed game-changing technologies to do so. So today we are thermal energy management experts who have developed a breakthrough wastewater treatment plant, the Sylvan Source Core. This has been independently and competitively benchmarked in industrial applications at 40 to 55% lower CapEx, 40 to 55% lower OpEx, and 50 to 75% smaller footprint. We've also, and this new system is at least as impactful, if not more impactful than the water treatment program. We developed something called Terra, which is a thermal energy recovery array. It's based on similar technology to the SSI Core water treatment system, but Terra cost effectively recovers, moves, and reuses thermal energy, including waste heat, almost instantaneously and with minimal losses across the plant. So we're we're sort of focusing on the greening of industry. And so mining applications, oil and gas, chemical plants, all of these are potential customer prospects for us.
That's really exciting. I feel like that is so forward thinking. And I appreciate that there's so little known about that sort of this nexus of water and energy and how interconnected they are. So a really, really huge problem, super forward thinking, really exciting story too. So moving to you, Abraham, I was interested in your bio, how you kind of like got your interest got piqued in mining. Can you talk a little bit about that transition for you and really what encouraged you to start this current company that you're a part of?
Sure. I've always had a scientific curiosity and entrepreneurial spirit from a young age. Completing studies at an early age allowed me more time to gain exposure to different opportunities and different industries, which is always nice. I started out in academia, as mentioned in the biography. I went into consulting before forming my first company, which is, I think, a natural step for most people in kind of more technical kind of a startup arena. I've always had a keen interest in mining since the first time I went to a mining site and saw mountains of tailings. Now, what are tailings? Tailings are basically the mine waste generated after metal extraction. There's another kind of waste that also is generated from mining kind of related activities. It's effluents, so a lot of acid mine drainage. That's also a result of the mining process. So, in the US alone, there's over 55 billion tons of this stuff being stockpiled and over 1.8 billion tons a year being generated as a result of mining activities. So basically the market potential is there. There is an interest from mining companies. And I think over the years, we finally understood the right value proposition as well as technology to execute this goal, which is one of the largest challenges in mining today. Mining companies, fortunately, have been very open to exploring new approaches to tailings processing and kind of reducing the impact of mining and the footprint. We're very fortunate in our particular case to be in Tucson, which is a strategic location for the mining industry with all the world's largest mining players located here in this region. So that's also a major advantage. The problem of tailings has been clear and probably has been the one that's been haunting a lot of these mining companies for the last several decades, or maybe even since the beginning. And through this journey, we've been able to pilot new technologies and not only that, optimize our value proposition and also bring all this into one company, which we formed of April of last year to kind of approach this whole tailings challenge, if you will.
Awesome. That is super fascinating as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then Courtney, you also have a very kind of personal story about how you started this company, how this started. Can you talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and particularly the problem that you're solving as well?
Sure. I mean, ultimately, I started my company, Emagine Solutions Technology, because my sister actually had a really difficult pregnancy. And the fact that keeps me up at night and keeps me driving forward is basically that the US is the most dangerous and expensive place in the developed world to give birth. And the fact that it's even worse for Black and Indigenous women who die at 2 to 3 times the rate of their white counterparts. I started noticing actually that some of these disparities were actually showing up in my own family, and that really deeply bothered me. And I wanted to do something about it. So I was working a corporate job, and my sister was going through this really difficult pregnancy, and I was realizing that there's basically the technology is the gap. So I initially started by developing a handheld ultrasound with my team. We went through the process of, testing it, validating it, getting it FDA cleared finally last year. And there's even more to the solving the puzzle of women's health than just ultrasound. The fact that like 50% of the world doesn't have access to ultrasound, there's more than that. It's patients also need a way to advocate for themselves. So as we've gone through our entrepreneurial journey, we're starting to explore the side of patient engagement as a way to solve this huge issue of poor maternal health outcomes in our country.
Thanks so much. All of you working on super different problems, but it's all of you sort of identified a large scale issue and then kind of started to break it down. Where can I tackle this? Where is there a market opportunity? And where can I bring new innovation to that? So really exciting. Something else that I was noticing that all three of you have in common is you've all sort of taken advantage of some of the entrepreneurial support organizations that are here in our region. I understand that you've all been involved with UACI, University of Arizona Center for Innovation, and then also Sylvan and Auxilium are sponsored in the incubator for the town of Sarita. So those are additional resources. Can you talk to me a little bit about and the Arizona Innovation Challenge too, as well? So sort of the state level. So we kind of have the regional assets and then also our state level. Can you talk a little bit about what is the landscape for being an entrepreneur in Arizona right now? What were some of the most helpful things for you as you started to build your company? And then we'll pause on that, and I would love to then talk about some of the challenges and potentially opportunities for continued improvement. So I'll just kind of open it up for, it looks like Courtney's jumping on that. So if you want to talk about some of the opportunities that you've experienced in our ecosystem.
Yeah, so I'm a first-time founder, and I wanted to take advantage of as many of the opportunities that were available in our ecosystem as possible. We actually have a really rich ecosystem, and I'm really proud to be here and be a part of it. Our first, foray into the ecosystem was actually at the same time we joined UACI. We also participated in a program with Startup Tucson, and there we were able to meet on both particular programs. We were able to meet and have great access to mentorship, to understanding, to programming, to help us understand how to be entrepreneurs successfully in the community. And then also, able to meet other entrepreneurs. It's really helpful to be a part of a cohort of people that are going through things at similar stages as you, so that you can learn from them and learn best practices and kind of share what works and what doesn't. And that is independent and unique of the industry. It doesn't matter. Everybody as an entrepreneur goes through similar challenges, I feel. Another thing that has been really helpful is we've basically bootstrapped and relied a lot on grant funding. And there have been a lot of really excellent programs in our city and in our region that have helped foster our growth. For example, the idea funding competition was the first funding that we received. That was a really important, it's a very important program. I'm sure Dre is going to go into more detail about that in a bit. But I think it's very important from an ecosystem perspective to see the innovation that's happening, and for the entrepreneurs to meet each other and for the city to understand what is being developed here. And the funding also is really important, and that helped us actually build our alpha version. Flynn Foundation on a state level, both they're active locally here in Tucson as well as on a state level. Very important for the bioscience space, that they're nurturing our ecosystem and helping us grow as an important place to invest in. And then I would also mention that through the U of A, we also got a lot of help in applying for the Arizona Innovation Challenge. And that has been an important program as well. Again, local beneficiaries for a state program. And then I'm sure Laura can speak to that as well, because she's currently in that. But that is it's a $150,000 grant program that helps small businesses build towards success, and ensuring a footprint of success in Arizona. So I'll leave it to the next person to expand more on those details. We've had our foot in almost as many opportunities as we can. All the things.
And I think that's really a testament to your success. I feel like those entrepreneurs that are taking advantage of all these programs are really the ones that are really, like you, continuing to grow and grow and grow. So you've always been so phenomenal in terms of seeking out resources and working on them. Laura, yeah, I would love to hear about your experience with the Arizona Innovation Challenge, which has really been an important program for Arizona more recently.
Right. So we actually started our company in the California Bay Area. So I'm a relatively recent transplant to Green Valley. And so part of what was incredibly exciting to us is that we were considered for the Arizona Innovation Challenge even. I mean, when we went through the process for the application and we made it through the first phase and then the second phase, I was both excited and a little bit in awe that we actually were considered because we are so new to the area. I think that speaks a lot to the help that we got from the University of Arizona Center for Innovation. So while we're relatively new to the area, we've been fortunate enough to be selected by the town of Suajarito and Freeport-McMoRan to participate in Biz Launch. And as part of Biz Launch, they've sponsored us to the University of Arizona Center for Innovation. And then in turn, UACI has been instrumental in helping us to secure opportunities such as the one we were just discussing with UACI. And so we're participating in the Spring 21 cohort. And as we move forward as an organization from where we are today to what we believe is going to be a world-class corporation deploying our technologies around the world, can't help but feel that the combination of the Arizona Commerce Authority, University of Arizona Center for Innovation, Town of Suajarito, and also Freeport-McMoRan are all sort of, helping us and pitching for our success, right? Cheering us on, and entrepreneurs love that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that that we were able to be a welcoming community for you, and that speaks well that we were able to identify great talent and then welcome them into the fold. So very cool. And then what about you, Abraham? Is there some things that you have found really helpful as you've been building your company that's been part of our sort of broader entrepreneurial ecosystem?
Thank you. In our case, Arizona has been a strategic location due to the mining community here, and obviously the University of Arizona as being a leader in mining technology, but innovation as a whole. Obviously, when there's a desire to create something valuable, the entrepreneur should not be demotivated due to lack of funding or other kinds of resources that might not be immediately available. But organizations such as yours, Startup Tucson, the UACI, and the University of Arizona are amazing. Access to mentorship, investors, in my opinion, some of the world's best academic professionals are located all here regionally, which have been, in our case, instrumental for our growth and rapid advancement in our company's vision.
Awesome. Also wonderful to hear. And I'm just hearing kind of themes of peer-to-peer connections, the expertise being really critical, funding, sort of like just-in-time funding, like the funding that you need at the different levels that you're at being also very important. So those are all, again, forces that contribute to a vibrant ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem. Other things that are part of that, infrastructure, talent. And so, we want to continue to grow in all the different areas that contributed to it. So kind of switching gears, that we have a bunch of people on this call that are interested in looking at the future, finding out where are opportunities to grow, where can we do better, where can we focus our energies as economic development professionals. So would you guys mind sharing some of the potential opportunities for growth or challenges that we need to be aware of as we're looking to grow, world-class talent like your companies?
Sure. So like many other startups, Sylvan Source faces ongoing challenges with fundraising, building up our initial sales funnel, and hiring the right resources quickly when we're ready to pull the trigger. Right now, it might feel like fundraising and securing those first orders is the most important business for us. But as soon as that happens, we're going to be faced with, oh my gosh, how do we staff up 35 people in 6 months? And, how do we make sure that they're the right people? And so, we've talked quite a bit with UACI and people from the town of Suajarito about that. And we have a sense that when we're ready, there will be resources that will be able to step in and help us with that. I mean, we're still going to be responsible for it, but we do feel like we're getting support from Arizona on that next step, which is going to be so critical. And it's a good fit with the town of Suajarito since they're interested in bringing jobs to the area. We're interested in trying to figure out how we can, when the time comes, we're going to be worried about how we can hire the right people fast enough.
Yeah. And just pushing in a little bit on that, can you talk a little bit about super broadly the types of skill sets that you're looking for workforce development to be able to have on hand for a company like yours?
Yeah, we're looking at some marketing. So we're probably going to contract with someone locally to do a refresh on our website towards the end of this month. But we'll be looking at finance and then engineering talent, manufacturing, engineering, mechanical engineering, physics, water treatment expertise. Those are the kinds of people that we're looking at. And so as a result, the other thing that Suarito has brought to the table is introductions to resources at the Arizona Commerce Authority that have a lot of experience with the free trade zone, and what that might mean for us in terms of manufacturing. So since we do feel, our first customer may end up actually being in Asia, not China, but still in Asia. We're looking at kind of people that have sophistication in managing international contractors for manufacturing as well as logistics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fairly talented set of individuals that we'll be looking for. I think the average salary is something like 150,000 for the people that we would be hiring in the region is our current estimate.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that has a huge economic impact in terms of high quality jobs and expertise. But like you say, they're going to have a really broad set of skills. And so really working towards developing a clear pipeline for talent seems like a giant opportunity for us. Courtney, did you have your microphone off?
No.
Yeah. You need to go next.
Yeah. I think for us, we're not on the manufacturing side. We're definitely like a software and tech. We're biotech company, so we're much heavier on the software piece. For us, I think looking towards the future and helping like additional tech startups in our area, it would be really helpful to have even more small business grants available. We've got some amazing early seed stage grants. And then we've got this great angel community in our town. However, there is a huge world of difference in that gap, right? Between a small business grant versus having the traction, being ready, quote unquote, for traditional like angel funding. And so having more of those grants available, I think would be really helpful to foster growth and job activity with really small entities in our city like us. I think another thing is just kind of like preparing our ecosystem and our economy to participate in the entrepreneurial economy. So people, when it's safe, obviously, people attending events and understanding what's going on in the ecosystem, I think is sort of like the first step. So folks in your position, everybody on the call, to be able to attend things like idea funding and other local events, I think is really important to be able to helping the entrepreneurial community. And then I would say a third thing, looking towards the future to helping build this ecosystem to be as strong as it can be, would be for professionals to be open to networking and helping startups. Networking in the sense is, if somebody needs to test their product, having friendlies in the community that are available and innovative and prepared to be able to try new technologies and be open to giving feedback to startups who are developing really great things in the community, but maybe aren't ready for prime time, but want to be able to test their stuff out in our market. And so I think having those pieces together and being receptive to that will be a really huge game changer.
Yeah, all of those are super important. So just again, hitting on where are the gaps in our funding pipeline, and we have some things that are coming in, and we have new opportunities for early stage, like in WeFunder and with Kiva, but that sort of mid-tier where you're done with the prototyping, but you still need a little bit of a boost before you are out for full acceleration and growth. That's super important to think about. And again, I think you were talking, Courtney, about the mindset shift and that people just really getting involved and excited about the innovation here. I think there's a lot of untold stories that need to continue to be highlighted for us to understand the full impact and the value of our entrepreneurial community. Absolutely. Dr. Jobut, what about you? Do you have opportunities for improvements or gaps that you've identified that would be good to focus on?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that the ED professionals that we've been in contact with have been instrumental in assisting with strategic partnerships, introduction to financiers, and also general guidance on different critical issues in the early days of a startup company. I find that ED professionals are a good gauge to understand whether certain businesses are viable what to expect and set out realistic expectations for the entrepreneur at this early stage. I would recommend tapping into these networks for these entrepreneurs and maybe creating more awareness so that they know what resources are available. I think that that's also something important. We have an amazing startup ecosystem in Tucson, and it's always a shame when a lot of local entrepreneurs do not use it. Going back to the Biz Launch program with Saurita, I think more local programs like that could be really instrumental in different regions of the state. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. Again, that kind of elevating storytelling and creating and highlighting, spotlighting are all really important. And I think you bring up a really good point, which is if we're not telling that story effectively locally, how are we going to be able to attract outside companies? So I think that's another question that I'd like to ask you. As you're thinking about, a lot of the folks on this call are thinking about what can we do to make it really attractive to startups around the world. And Laura, you came here from California, so maybe you can talk directly to how we lured you here. But as you're thinking about that kind of more broadly, are there ways that we as a community can highlight and attract startups to our region from outside?
So maybe I'll start. And yeah, I happened to be in Green Valley visiting my parents during COVID, and I looked at the connectors for the Department of Energy, solar desalination and solar challenges, and saw that Anita Bell from the University of Arizona Center for Innovation was listed as a connector, and her phone number and email was provided. And I just thought I'd connect and say hi. And, just because I'm here, and just wanted to say hello and see if she'd talk to me and give me a sense for what her position was about. And I'd say within about 20 minutes, she'd convinced me to consider moving to Arizona and applying for the Biz Launch through the town of Suarito. And I dropped everything because I had something like 24 hours to get my application in. So I dropped everything and applied. And then when we were accepted, it sort of got me excited. And in part of that acceptance, I brought my team in to participate in the interview. So that meant that I had to engage my team in California with the idea that, maybe Arizona would be a more friendly, business-friendly environment for us, more supportive. Is that something that my team would consider? As my team learned more, they started to get excited. So I think it was just a couple weeks ago, we went to the new facility in Suarito to check out an office there to see if that's maybe would be a good place for us to move. So I think it started with Anita just laying out for me very succinctly what some of the advantages are to an entrepreneur in Arizona. And Anita she also evaluated us a little bit in the call, right? She was trying to understand, the University of Arizona Center for Innovation, I think it's a good idea if an entrepreneur first validates that their idea is a good one with customers. And then if you've got deep technology, you also verify that your technology is going to work at the scale that you're proposing to go out. That might be at that stage kind of a good time to approach the University of Arizona. So when Anita was talking to me, we had independent validation. We have customers that are expressing strong interest. We're sort of at the verge of a tipping point, we hope, to be able to really launch and scale, but needed some help, and she could see that. So it wasn't a very long call. Like within a total of half an hour, I was starting to engage just because somebody was talking to me about how incredible Arizona was and why I should care. And so I feel, going forward, I would like to make the UACI proud of us. I'd like to make Suarito proud of us, and hope that we will. And just really grateful and excited that we've been given these opportunities to participate in, I would have said 6 months ago, your sort of eco environment. And now it's mine too.
That is really amazing. And so I think that just highlights the importance of personal relationships relationships. And now I want to go find out from Anita, like, what did she say? What was her pitch? I want to know. We should all have that ready in our back pocket to be able to highlight and talk about some of these benefits. But I also, you had a carrot too, which was this is incentive of having an opportunity that was unique to where you were at that stage of your company. So really, really important takeaways. Courtney or Abraham, either one of you have any ideas about how we could continue to incentivize startups to move to Arizona?
Sure. I mean, I think like we have the building blocks that are already really attractive, right? I mean, at UACI, at the tech park, we have some ridiculously incredible laboratory space, space to develop out, like collaborative innovations. I mean, there is a lot available at the tech park, and that's been really, really helpful to us and to a lot of startups that we know that are sort of in the same growth phase as we are. And then, we also have great co-working space downtown. And in Sahuarita, it's you guys got an amazing facility there. So I mean, in terms of like infrastructure, like it seems like a lot of the pieces are in place. And now it's just sort of getting to develop the culture around, I think, collaboration. Collaboration between, for example, medical facilities and med tech companies here. There are a lot of really great med tech companies here that maybe don't have the resources into some of our medical centers where like cancer drug development that is going on in town could really be leveraged and utilized, for example. So there are, I think now it's just an issue of just like getting the conversation and the culture to be ready for the innovation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that mindset, that culture is such a critical part of building a supportive environment. Any thoughts, Abraham? Don't have to, just don't want to put you on the spot.
No, of course. Yeah. I actually, in my case, I was living in Singapore and I had moved to Tucson because of the mining kind of community and this whole sustainability kind of thing, activities that are happening locally. I think from my personal perspective, and it's just my opinion, we should really kind of emphasize more of our local strengths, whether it be mining, sustainability, optical science, agriculture, which many times are overlooked, I think, in today's startup world. I guess maybe because of lack of interest among younger communities and things like that, but there's also a lot of exciting opportunities across different kind of technical expertise in these areas.
Yeah. And then just doing a quick time check, Camilla, I know you wanted to get to some Q&A. Do I have time for like one more question, or do you want to switch to the next item on the agenda?
No, go ahead.
All right. Now we're actually gonna have to blame Eric for this because he wants to put you guys in the hot seat with a slightly edgy question. So he wants to know, what are your plans for staying and growing in Southern Arizona? And so what do we need to do to keep you here and ensure that you have the right tools, infrastructure, and things at your disposal so that we can ensure that all of those amazing jobs you guys are creating are staying here in our state? So a little bit on the hot seat. Do you plan on staying and growing in Southern Arizona? Do we have what you might need for future growth?
Would you like me to start, or Courtney, or Dr. Jabot?
Yeah, Laura, you got the seat.
Okay. So with our company, so the answer is yes. That's the short answer. but to express it a little bit more fully, we're not selling software and we're not selling small devices. Our smallest system is 4 truckload containers of equipment. That's our smallest system. And each sale, our sales will go from about $1 million to $104 million, depending on the size of the equipment. So there are a lot of resources on the ground wherever we deploy. So the bulk of our resources, if this entity in Asia moves first, the greatest number of headcount is going to be in Asia. And so there will be resources still that we will commit to putting into Sahuarita, or Southern Arizona area generally, but the bulk of the resources need to go where the deployments are. So what we're really interested in what we will hopefully be able to do is to secure early on an opportunity for deployment in Arizona, because that will push the center of gravity for the company faster towards Arizona in terms of where those initial deployments need to be, and then it's more easy to build from that. And so we are working on an opportunity in Southern Arizona. But like I said, even if we don't see the opportunity come through in Arizona first, and we end up with international deployments first, we still see an opportunity for quite a significant amount of headcount in Southern Arizona. I hope that addresses the question.
Yes, absolutely. That's such an important part. And that's something that everyone on this call can continue to think about, is how can we help you land and make those connections with your customers and help you build those bridges with the resources that we have, so that we can continue to help you grow and invest in this area. That's perfect. Courtney, Abraham, either of you want to take a whack at that? You can blame Eric for it later. Abraham?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so no, I think in our case, we're definitely planning to stay here. Obviously, the mining community is very strong pulse for our business, and one of the main, we're in a very strategic location for that, being, you know, a lot of the larger mining companies are based here locally. So while we might not, we will definitely have a head office here, but you know, mining is all over the world, so we might have projects in other regions also, but definitely want to keep this as our head or main office here in Tucson. And obviously, one of the things that we're also impulsing is inviting other companies that work with us, equipment manufacturers, chemical suppliers, what have you, to also move into the region to supply these local demands for what we're trying to achieve. Thank you.
I was actually going to ask you about that, about the manufacturing and supplies pieces. Are there locally currently opportunities for manufacturing some of your products here, or at the moment are those yet to be developed?
Actually, yeah, we are working with some equipment manufacturers. We don't plan on manufacturing the equipment ourselves, so we'll have. We've already partnered with some of the largest ones in the mining industry, at least, that there is today, and we've already been in talks about potentially building out certain manufacturing hubs here and locally to serve our clients that we may have. Secondly, we're also looking at the secondary building material through our company, building construction materials from these tailings, so that definitely will have a very strong regional presence if successful.
That's great to hear. And Courtney, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so we're building our company, you know, a local company with a global mindset. We worked on projects in 6 different countries to this point. And what I think is really helpful about Tucson specifically is that we have this internationally acclaimed university here with international resources that really helps us to have footprints in lots of different places and work with lots of different types of people, which is important. I think moving forward, something that we'd like to see to keep companies like ours here is continued support in the education system. Again, there's a little bit of a gap here in terms of like technical know-how. It's hard to find coding talent here, and we've had to look elsewhere for that. And that's an important component of growing businesses like ours. So if you know, programs like JTED, like continue to support that, like and continue to support the public schools and fund them and provide them as many resources as they need is really important to creating our pipeline, our startup pipeline as well. But if there's also a way to develop programs such as JTED, but specific to tech careers, I think that could be a huge differentiator for our region. And you know, companies like ours would be very supportive of that.
Yeah, that is 100%. I think something we all need to be laser focused on is workforce development and technical career support. Startup Tucson is starting a CS accelerator, a computer science accelerator this spring. So I was excited to hear you say that, because that's one of the things that we're also focusing on. So I 100% agree, it's a gap, and we need to be really, really focused on supplying you with the talent you need so that you can continue to grow and you don't feel stymied by not having the right support and knowledge around you. So phenomenal answers, guys. Thank you so much for putting yourselves in the hot seat, sharing your journey with us. And I feel really it's very interesting the commonalities that your companies have, even while they're so different. Solving a global problem that's super important to all of our lives, and doing it in really unique and innovative ways, and continuing to rely on the community that we have here, and looking forward to a really, really strong future of job creation, and putting us on the map, which is what we all want to see. So with that, Camilla, are you leading the Q&A section?
Yeah, I'll take the
Okay.
Q&A section. So first of all, Dre, thank you. Awesome job on asking the questions and kind of having your own twist. And to all of our panelists, wow, I learned so much. I thought I knew a lot about the Tucson ecosystem, having worked with Dre previously and my previous work. And every time I learned something new, which is just an amazing thing. And so it's really nice to see how everything has evolved over the last 10 years, right? So now is the Q&A section of our programming. And, since we are a relatively small group, please feel free to take yourself off mute and go ahead and ask the questions. Anybody ready to kick it off? Otherwise, I have my own question.
Let me just jump in with a real quick comment. I wanted to, the first leg of my education was in chemical engineering in the College of Mines at the University of Arizona. So I really appreciated Abraham's comments about the importance and the power of what happens here, and how that kind of innovative and systems approach really drives business. So thank you for pointing that out. And Dre, thank you for making sure that people are aware of just what is available here.
I just wanted to add to that. I am going to drop in the notes a resource that Startup Tucson has built. It's the Tucson Ecosystem Guide. It's a digital guide to all the various resources in our area. If you don't see your organization on there, please submit, because we would love to have it as complete as possible. We update this frequently, and hopefully making that step towards what you're talking about, Abraham, an easy way for entrepreneurs to know what's out there, what do I need, and then also for us as professionals to identify gaps. So I'm going to drop that in the notes. So if that's helpful to you, hopefully you can check it out.
So I will go ahead and ask my question. So my question was around workforce development, right? So you kind of touched upon some of the difficulties that you've had in getting the right talent. And so in terms of what the pandemic has done for remote work, right? Has that alleviated your ability to find the people? And then are you starting to have the conversations around, what that employment looks like in the future, or is it going to continue to be some sort of virtual aspect of your company's policy moving forward? We'll go with Courtney first.
Sure. So our company has generally, even pre-pandemic, we've operated pretty remotely, to be honest. And so the pandemic has just sort of nourished that interest and that like inclination for our team to continue to work remotely. We're pretty efficient at that at this point. I think that yes, like being able to find talent that's willing to work remotely is going to alleviate that. But at the end of the day, there's never going to be a substitute for seeing somebody in person and interacting with them in person. I think it would be, in an ideal world, it would be great to be able to source that person from, or those people, those team members from our local community. And there's a sense of pride in that as a startup, being able to hire locally. So your answer is yes. However, it would still be great to foster that on a higher level here in our community.
Abraham or Laura, if you have any additional comments.
Okay, so yes, I think that one of the things that COVID-19 taught us is that we could work remotely. We actually never really did before. And so when we were forced to, at first it seemed a little bit awkward, and then we became pretty good at it. But we actually do need some teams to work on physical, tangible products. Bringing up pilot systems. For instance, we get a lot of water shipped to us currently in San Carlos, California. We're anticipating moving that system at some point to Suarito. We get water shipped from all over the world, really, but primarily North America, oil and gas companies and power companies and such, to run through our pilot system to verify that the water, that the water treatment performs as it's supposed to. And sometimes they'll visit and actually watch us doing it so that they know there's no magic happening behind the scenes. That's not really something you can do remotely. You need a team to, set up the equipment, to manage the tests. And we also have teams that work together in various aspects of engineering subsystems. And you can do some amount of sharing of information and some remote work with engineering drawings, but we actually do real builds too with our hands and tools. And so it means that we can structure teams that actually do need to get together and work together on specific programs on the engineering side, especially.
Abraham, did you want to chime in?
Oh, just in our case, the fortunate thing about mining is it actually improved during the pandemic in terms of an industry as a whole. So everybody's pretty much been working as usual, even increased production in some cases. But however, having people remotely, adjusted to this remote way of working has really helped us get in touch with a lot of these mine operators and people in these different industries, which normally probably wouldn't be available as much. So they're becoming more conscious of this new way of working, which has been really great, I must say. Thank you.
Did anybody else have any other questions? So I have another question. So we touched on a lot of the things that Tucson has in terms of an ecosystem, and then we talked a little bit about some of the things that we don't have, like in terms of the culture in and around our communities. Did anybody want to kind of expand on what is it that we can try to build moving forward to make this an even better place that's even more welcoming for entrepreneurs so that you guys can be even more successful? Courtney.
Ooh, put me on the spot. Okay. Okay. So the question is what else can we do to make innovation happen here more? Basically, am I understanding? Okay. I think, I just continuing to like leverage the university. I think, again, there's just so many different layers of research and innovation. I mean, just it is probably our #1 best resource in the state, maybe about in terms of like the level of innovation and research that's going on there and being able to leverage that. Sometimes U of A is kind of a closed box for those that are not currently either professors or faculty or currently students, and having the ability to work maybe more openly with the university, no matter what industry or no matter what subject area that somebody's working in, I think that could be a game changer. I hate to mention our neighbor up north, but ASU, this is an area that they're really, really emphasizing. And I think that we can continue to stay competitive if there's a way to build more partnerships with U of A and corporate entities in our town. So that would be my on my wish list, actually, as a local entrepreneur.
Abraham?
Yeah, I definitely agree. The U of A is an amazing resource. Also, the University of Arizona has Tech Launch Arizona, which in my cases, I've been working with them for several years ago, have been instrumental in identifying new technologies and opportunities that the U of A has to offer. Again, going back to my previous point, emphasizing our strengths and focusing on those strengths that we have locally, I think definitely one way to impulse things forward and have a competitive edge over other places or other institutions.
Laura, did you want to add anything?
I think I probably have less knowledge about this than either Courtney or Abraham because I'm a recent transplant. But one of the observations that I would make is that as a region gets more and more tech companies in the area and more startups in the area, that seems to have a certain momentum that brings more startups to the area. That's a lot of what happened in the Bay Area and is still happening in the Bay Area, right? Is there's so many companies that are starting up and there's such a strong ecosystem around those startups with the venture capitalists and everything else. But it wouldn't be strong without all the startups. It just wouldn't be what it is without all the startups. And so I think Stanford University has historically had a big role in that, which, you know, can translate to the University of Arizona. But I just think that as more and more companies decide to transplant here or organically start from the beginning here and grow here, that in itself is going to create more and more of an ecosystem on its own.
That's a great point. Great point. Any other questions?
Yeah, Camila, that made me think of something, Laura, what you were just saying. So I'm just kind of curious, as entrepreneurs, do you have connections with other entrepreneurs that are outside of the area? And if so, do you promote Tucson area, and how do you do that, or where do you send them to maybe get more information? I mean, are you going through Startup Tucson, or are there other things then, or how could we help with that? Or are there ways that we could help entice them to look at coming here?
Well, for us, just building on what I just said, I think a large part of it is my own team that's still back in California, right? They're connected to other people in California, and they're talking to them about what I'm up to, and therefore what they're up to, right? And so this is sort of a conversation that's happening in small networks with, like, my VP of operations, my director of operations, who have their own groups. When people say, "What are you doing?" Right? "Why are you doing this?" And so those conversations happen, and it's also through the venture capitalists. So venture capital, our investors are spread out a little bit. So we've got a couple in the Bay Area and then one's in New York. And one of the guys in the Bay Area is really active in angel networks. Like he's the co-chairman of one of the angel networks out there, Caltech Angel Networks. Sorry, I spaced on that for a second. He's a co-chairman of Caltech Angel Network. He graduated with. And he's really well networked. And so by making this transition to Arizona, I've had to not just bring my team along, but I've also had to bring my board along. And so they've had to understand my thinking and, you know, what it was that Anita said to me that got me excited, you know, what it is that Eric says that gets us, you know, kind of keeps us going forward. What are the programs and that kind of thing. And then they talk about it within their own network. And that's why I was trying to say that once you start getting a network once you start building, I think more and more young companies here, either organically or coming from the outside, there's a natural set of communications that starts to occur, not just regionally, but, you know, from where the company came from. And it's saying nothing negative about California at all. It's just saying, wow, there's some interesting programs in Arizona that could be really helpful to us, and some mentors that we can get access to that might make a real difference in our company. And that's I think part of what's happening now, you know, with our VC in California, trying to explain to people why a California VC is letting his company go to Arizona.
That's exciting. I know, like Courtney mentioned earlier too, just all the networking and collaborations. And I wondered if all of that is local or if it is outside, and then helping to entice people to come here. So I don't know, Courtney or Abraham, if either of you have other things to add about where you maybe send them or how you help them maybe make a choice or look here.
Yeah, I think the people that are in my network are like earlier on, and so they maybe aren't looking to relocate just yet, but they're open to possibilities. And so in some of the other programs that we participated in, like the National Science Foundation I-Corps program that we participated in, there were teams from all over the country, particularly in California, but all over the country, and you know, people share their stories as to why they've chosen to start their businesses where they have, and what it is about that geographical area that's helping them be successful. And so we've had the opportunity to share that through the National Science Foundation program. Similarly, there are a lot of women's health tech incubator programs that are happening, and we're a part of these, you know, national Slack groups. And, you know, by even just having a company have a presence that, you know, is participating in those, I think that can help spread the word as well. Abraham, do you agree with that?
Oh, perfect. No, excellent. Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to say that in our case, you know, it's kind of have an unfair advantage given that the state already inherently is a strong mining hub. So it's really easy to convince different entrepreneurs or companies to come down and you know, come on this adventure with us in Tucson. It's been a pretty easy transition for them.
That's great. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
all three
So
of you.
we're
Mila, back to you.
All right, so we're kind of coming to the top of the hour, and I wanted to say thank you once again to our panelists, Courtney, Laura, and Abraham. You were amazing. Thank you so much for telling us about your businesses and kind of what makes you tick and what makes Tucson tick for you. I wanted to let everybody know that we do have a couple of events coming up. So on May 19th, we have a post-COVID market update. And so that will be kind of like an update on the office and commercial markets and how it is that Tucson is doing in that scenario. Our July event will be also related to kind of a business attraction strategy. And we're hoping to have Sun Corridor come in and give a presentation on their efforts. Sorry, Susan, to call you out. But the other thing that I wanted to ask everybody that is on the meeting, every month, the Southern Arizona Committee of the AAUD, we meet and we talk about, you know, how it is that we can develop programming that's valuable for Southern Arizona in terms of economic development and entrepreneurship. So we encourage anyone and everyone to get involved. And if you're interested in that, please feel free to send myself an email. You can also send an email to Margie or Carrie. So once again, thank you so much, everybody. And thank you to our sponsors, the town of Sahuarita and Pinal County. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And I'll give you back 0 seconds.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, panelists.
Bye.
Andre.
Thank you, everybody.